Alright, we are inside the...
There's got to be a better way.
The Sulon Star.
Kyle Katarn, you keep saying that, but nothing will happen unless you take action.
So we're still in the atmosphere, which is why we're actually like on the surface.
Yeah, outside the ship.
And so are other people.
Can I just say I'm impressed? Like, better than almost any modern Star Wars game, this game gives a pretty good sense of scale of a like large ship.
Yeah, it does pretty alright. Like,
yeah, no, we're gonna spend a couple levels here.
And
like this is a
the
huge
render distance problem is actually kind of benefiting it because you have the sense of scale and that. Well, just like the render distance is so small, like because it's harder to see further away. It just gives it that even more sense of scale to it. It's kind of funny.
Right? Yeah.
It's like Silent Hill's oppressive fog was completely intentional and not a limitation of the hardware, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that plays out. You know, that's actually one of the things that was pointed out about video game music, is that like old music from old video games had to be catchy because that's all it had for it. Like you had 3 different like instrument tracks and a drum track, and that was it. So you get the super catchy themes from old video games because that's all they could do.
You had to,
whereas now you have like modern orchestras and stuff.
Games, yeah. So you had to be able to like you had to have music in your video game. It's like the player needs to listen to this for several hours and not go insane.
Yeah, they need to listen to this 1-minute loop of music, maybe, if we're like at the upper end of it.
Without noticing that it's necessarily looping and without hating it.
Yeah, I think James described to me there's a psychological principle. If something I think is at least 73 seconds long, then you won't. Then you can't notice that it's looped without heavily studying it. So this is a point where, for some reason, XSplit like started dropping frames a lot.
I was gonna say, is it just me or did the frame rate just go to shit?
Yeah. So it's the encoding that messed up for some reason.
Got it.
Because I would have noticed if the frame rate had dropped. I don't know why this happens, but you'll notice some frame stuttering a little bit, and I wish I had noticed it when I was recording this a long time ago.
That's alright.
So it doesn't happen much, but when it happens, it's like bad. And I work to mitigate it later on. So there's and now we're gonna get to a point of me trying to find another secret after I blow it on this probe droid, and it takes me a long time, so we're gonna enjoy a little bit of yakety sax while that happens.
Sweet!
Because this is a fucking pain in the ass place to get to. So basically, I'm trying to get into this tiny hole in this triangular ledge that sticks out of the wall.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I can't. I end up having to force jump into it and that hurts me because my force jump is high enough that even like a basic ass force jump will throw me into the ceiling.
Jeez.
So I think what you're supposed to do, and what I couldn't do, although I got it on my first try when I was practicing, so I didn't think it was going to be that hard, is you're supposed to turn on force speed, run, and then make a jump right at the end of the other box. But every time I did that, I either missed or I was too short. And now I'm going to have to wait here for a second because I used so many force powers, which I later discovered is the little like red mesh thing that appears underneath your ammunition counter.
Right.
If you use those too much, you run out and you have to wait for them to recharge. But I didn't notice that because force speed and force jump, which were the only powers I had at the time, take minimal drain on your resources, and you don't notice it unless you have to spam it a lot like I had to find that secret. So yeah, now we're actually going through a capital ship trying to chase down 8T88 here, because again he has the map to the Valley of the Jedi, which I think he was trying to take to Jarek, who, if you'll remember, is the Dark Jedi Lord, who also wants the location of the Valley of the Jedi so that he can unlock the ultimate secrets of the Force and become, you know, the most powerful man in the galaxy. Blah blah blah. Star Wars plot.
Yes, pretty much that exactly. We can carry on from here, knowing all of the plot, and that he will probably not succeed at doing so because Kyle Katarn will stop him.
Yes, video games.
Katarn join him.
Dun dun dun.
So I will
turn
say
out
that there actually are some cutscenes I don't get because there are multiple different paths depending on if you have a positive or a negative force forward.
Really? That's cool.
There's actually you will actually kill different characters in cutscenes. And I will point out when those happen because all of them happen late game.
Nice.
So there's a bunch of points here where if you notice that there's like yellow and black striped caution tape on some parts of the floor, you'll notice I avoid those because there are force fields that stop you from entering and stop like bolts from going through. So like here, I can't get through there, and also these guys will try and shoot at me forever because they don't understand what a force field is.
Even though they put them up.
Yeah, so this one's down so I have to go through here and basically flip a whole series of switches and accidentally blow up the protocol droid. But I'm flipping all these switches to turn off each of the force fields one by one so I can get through the ship.
Sounds good.
So, yeah.
I was going to mention something from last time. You mentioned when talking about Death Star of the architect character referring to someone who was like the lead designer of the Death Star.
Yes, they just call him the Old Man. The Old and Man are all capitalized.
Yes.
That is the only name they gave him.
So I believe the reason is I believe if the character is the one I'm thinking of, it's because he's basically this like super top secret scientist that works directly for the Emperor.
You're talking about the one from
Darksaber.
Darksaber. Yeah.
The one who it's established that the Emperor was tended to get very displeased with him, and when the Emperor got displeased with him, he would kill him in various horrible ways, and then bring him back as a clone with all the memories of having died.
Yeah. So also, but wasn't the team that worked on the Star Crusher the people that designed the Death Star? There's like 8 different people that apparently designed the Death Star.
Yeah, because the Death Star was designed by a group of scientists in the Maw installation. The same people designed the Sun Crusher that appears in the
they actually described
Jedi Academy trilogy.
The Jedi Academy, yeah. What's that?
They actually described the Maw in Death Star as well.
Did they actually bring up Queecucks? I'm curious. Bird girl. I think she's a bird woman.
Yes, she's the only Imperial Admiral, right?
No, that's Dala. She's an important character in other things. So she shows up in this. She's actually involved in a secret tryst with Grand Moff Tarkin. Although I think they managed to. I don't know if it's called I don't know if you call it retcon when it's actually like happening in the story, because she gets caught in crossfire in a battle in the Death Star, and she like the bridge is damaged and she receives a head wound from which she recovers, but suffers a level of memory loss, the rate of which is not described in Death Star. In fact, she shows up, she has a tryst with Tarkin, she gets a head wound and then disappears. And is never mentioned again.
Character usage.
This is probably based on
also, this is a super cool place. These are vents that have no gravity, so we can just run on all the walls.
Wow. That's actually really cool. I would not have expected this from a game this old. But
Alien vs Predator had a similar.
Yeah, as the alien, you could just run around on the walls and
run on the walls losing gravity. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
But yeah, the reason this was is because I believe it was in the Jedi Academy trilogy, which I think was where Dala was first introduced.
I believe so, yes.
It mentions she was accused of, it mentions as part of her backstory that she had served under Tarkin, who had promoted her out of respect for her abilities, in spite of being a woman, which, you know, was not always looked upon very well in the Empire.
The Empire was not exactly progressive, let's say.
Yeah.
No.
In particular,
sorry, go ahead.
In particular, a story that she was accused of only getting the position because she was sleeping with Tarkin.
There's AT-88 that rust bucket can't.
To which Tarkin put the man in a spacesuit, ejected him into a decaying orbit around the planet, and left his comms on to be played throughout the whole base.
Where is that rust?
For anybody else to listen to, that would claim that anyone, you know, got where they are through personal favors.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
that
she
was,
becomes
yeah,
a-
they mentioned that in here.
get my chance to repay you.
But yeah,
Oh,
Cutscene.
turns out AT-88's dead.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yes. Our master is on his way to the Valley of the Jedi as we speak. A fortune you will not be so lucky to
oh shit, bad guys.
Oh no, yeah.
It is a mystery why one would call Gork and Pick twins. Even though one is a miniature version of the other, they look nothing alike. They also don't battle alike. Pick is the energy and Gork the counter. They are the clashing balance of opposites, one the voice, the other the body. This combination is deadly.
So Gork has like a
Okay, that was
lance.
pretty cool.
So in this fight, I'm gonna be running from Pick and just beating the shit out of Gork because Gork has Force Choke, and he
Got
will
it.
wreck your day if you do not constantly mess with him. So, well, Pick moves around crazy fast and has Force Persuade and abuses the hell out of it when he can. And so I have Force Sight, which allows me to see him when he's invisible, but this doesn't matter because even if I can see him with Force Seeing, I still cannot deflect his blows when he's using Force Persuade, so I just have to run away from him when that happens. Now, fortunately, fighting Gork in lightsaber combat is super easy because he only does two things. And occasionally he'll Force Push. So I can just circle strafe him, because so long as I'm to the right, he will keep doing these down swings that can't hit me.
Is that Force Persuade that we're seeing right here?
No, this is me using Force Sight. Force Persuade,
got it.
Pick will just disappear.
Got it. So yeah, anyway, the whole
must have
point of
just
that whole Dala tangent was that the Maw is the series of black holes that surround the spice planet Kessel, which is a prison planet that gets used to harvest the spice drug. And the Maw is pretty infamous in Star Wars canon because a lot of bad shit got built there because it was really easy to hide a space station inside of it.
Yeah,
It's also really hard
wants
to
to go
attack.
to the middle of a
to the
bunch
point
of
where
black holes.
nobody knew where it is until a force-sensitive escape, that it was even there until a force-sensitive escapee happened to find it by basically feeling his way through navigating through the Maw, which was supposed to be impossible without the
So
charts, basically.
since the Maw is near the Kessel system, is that what the Kessel Run is named for?
Yes, the Kessel Run is traversing past or to Kessel, I don't remember which, using the Maw's gravity wells from all the black holes to slingshot yourself along it and not die. That's what the Kessel Run is.
And that also
The
reminds.
reason-
This also reminds me. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say
This reminds me
the
of
reason
the
then
question
that
I asked.
for super Star Wars nerddom briefly.
Fuck that guy.
So this is the reason that the Kessel Run is measured in distance, as people have brought out, is because it is the shorter the distance, the more basically bragging rights you have, because the closer you're cutting it to the black holes.
Yes.
Right. I remember I actually asked Sam that a while back, and I believe your first answer was I think Han was just bullshitting them to see if they understood anything about space travel.
Yeah, that's my favorite interpretation of that, is that like they make no response to the concept of parsecs being referred to as a length of time, and so he's like, all right, I can take these routes for all they've got.
Yeah, which is why Luke has to sell his car to get a ride.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think the explanation for the being in distance is also fine. I just think it's funnier if Han is a con artist.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, it fits with the character.
for blowing up. Stormtrooper blowing up was
So you're
great.
gonna hear stormtroopers shooting at me through walls for a while, because again, the AI is brilliant.
Yeah, because force fields.
No, they're actually shooting at me on the other side of a wall, like 3 rooms away.
Oh, good.
The question is, who got played more? Was it Han or was it Obi-Wan and Luke for having to sell the car and believing Han's bullshit, or is it Han for essentially being tricked into taking the currently 2 most wanted men in the Empire for a ride?
Well, and also,
also
a ride that they literally cannot pay for at all. Like they sell the car just to get just to get the upfront cost.
Right, basically saying, yeah, we'll pay the rest when we get there. I assume the destination had something to do with it.
Would you guys be in deference to saying that at the core of it, A New Hope is really just about an old man that takes a young boy to a bar?
Yes, yes, in a lot of ways. Well, you know, the explanation for Star Wars is that it's the best chaos theory thought experiment you could ever have hoped for, because if the Imperial gunner on Darth Vader's Star Destroyer at the start of A New Hope doesn't shoot an escape pod that he thinks is empty,
right,
then the whole movie happens.
Yeah. It's true.
That was also one point in the later sections of Death Star, because it is because it follows the construction and brief use and then destruction of the Death Star. You get a couple scenes which are basically novelizations of A New Hope.
Yeah, because they probably deal with the intruder, the capturing.
They deal with everything. Like they even chalk up like how. They even chalk up how the security officers, like how Han and Luke are able to escape from the Death Star, and how everybody's able to escape from the Death Star because key players in Death Star security are just so fed up with the Empire, they say, oh yeah, the blast door malfunctioned, I can't get it open.
Which
looks like
is
we're gonna
bullshit.
need...
Like, there's an in-universe explanation for why they get away already. It's because Darth Vader wants to follow them to the Yavin base. Like, that's literally what happens.
Yeah,
I
don't know why that's ignored. I mean, they do. That's one of the things that they do say is that they've planted a tracking unit on the frigate, and that's on the Millennium Falcon, and that's just leads them straight to Yavin 4.
Right.
One thing that I do like is that it does explain how it should have ended. Did an ending to A New Hope where it's like, why didn't the Death Star just blow up Yavin and then blow up Yavin 4? Why did it have to orbit? And Death Star gives a pretty good explanation, just saying that like its power output is really impressive. It can blow up a small planet. It can't blow up a gas giant. There is just too much mass and too much matter, and it's still... Space is big. Things in space are big.
Right, it's a similar way, like, they built an entirely separate super weapon to blow up a star, basically.
Yeah. Well,
via very different means.
What I always enjoyed was... Oh, speaking of, there's something I wanted to bring up that I think is hilarious, and that is the description for how Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens works is the most techno-babbly fucking bullshit thing I've ever heard, even in Star Wars.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is some shit.
That's in the mission briefing when they're talking about the phase aligner or whatever they have to blow up, like...
Yeah, so here's the Wikipedia entry for Starkiller Base. It's an ice planet with some trees located in the unknown regions. The First Order converted the planet to a base of operations armed with a super weapon. The weapon ran on a type of dark energy called quintessence, which was ubiquitous in the universe and offered a practically unlimited power source to the First Order. Using a star as a power source, an array of collectors on one side of the planet would gather dark energy in stages, redirecting it to the planet core, where it was held in place by the natural magnetic force of the planet, as well as an artificial containment field. As a planetary magnetic field would not be enough to contain the amount of energy that the weapon required, a thermal oscillator was built into the planet.
There we go.
It generated an oscillating containment field, which allowed the installation to expend considerably less energy. So basically, it literally is just like, I don't know, they made up energy and put a container around it.
They used scientific terms and just strung them together.
They made up
maybe somebody. One thing
up
Scott Manley pointed out about Starkiller Base is that it can attack exactly one target. Because as far as I understand, it has no means of propulsion.
It does.
Does it?
Yeah,
okay.
they specifically move it into orbit around a star, drain that star, and then use it to fire the gun, and then it moves. Or at least that is the design of it.
Yeah.
Because they take the planet from the unknown regions and bring it into known space. It's literally just a bigger Death Star.
Crackpot theory. They found Zonama Sekas.
Zonama Sekas. But that planet doesn't die because they found a dead planet and used it.
Oh, maybe in this universe.
I also like that. I also like that for the most part, Han Solo's role in that movie seems to be to just like crack wise at the plot of the movie.
Oh yeah, totally. The whole movie cracks wise at the plot of the movie. Anyway, that movie's amazing.
I still think my favorite line is, "That isn't how the Force works."
And then Chewbacca just turning to look at Han like, you were literally calling this techno-babble, like...
And so there's a thing that I when I was thinking about the plot of that, and namely yeah, no, he's a genius. The AI in this game is brilliant. Pro AI, pro strats. But thinking about what is it? Man, I am blanking on the name of the main character.
Which one? Finn?
No.
Poe?
Rey. Yeah, Rey. I keep getting her mixed up because there's also a character who has the word Ren in his name.
Yeah.
And so I want to call one of them like Kylo Ray and the other one Ren. So now I also get to start deciding what path of the Force I want to take. And so now we have escaped from the Sulon Star and are going to start we're going to find the location of the Valley of the Jedi by getting it out of AT-88's head. Woo! But one of the things is, thinking about Rey, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, how she solves all of her problems very easily, and blah blah, Mary Sue, etc. And there's a thing that I was trying to think about, because it's been a while since I've seen A New Hope. I've been meaning to see it again more recently, but it's like, when you think about Luke Skywalker, like, he in the course of that film, which is not a particularly long span of time, he goes from being a moisture farmer to blowing up the Death Star, like, with a fleet of 30 X-wings.
I have a few responses to that in general. One, Rey is not Mary Sue in any way, shape, or form. She's shown being extremely capable of surviving on her own, having mechanical aptitude, and etc., etc. Also, Luke is shown as being... He's a moisture farmer, yes, but he's also shown with mechanical aptitude and the ability to, pilot and in every instance of fighting and becoming a pilot for the rebellion, like, we see that development. Also, there's a cut scene, or there's a cut out scene with him and Wedge, where Wedge puts him through a simulator and is impressed that he's almost as good as Wedge is.
Actually, in that brief period, there's a cutout scene that I had seen on Tumblr that I really wish was in there, where he's actually talking to, I believe, Biggs, Darklighter.
Biggs, yeah,
and talking about how he wants to join the Imperial Academy or join the Rebellion, and Biggs is saying, like, you realize that you're like signing your own death warrant if you do that, right?
Yeah, well, and Biggs is telling him, like, look, we're about to defect anyway, like, don't. Yeah. But yes, anyway. Star Wars is good.
So, yes, we are now...
That's fine.
So now we're coming to Rusan. We're following, actually, Jarek's capital ship.
The valley is being prepared for you, my lord.
Also, I didn't realize that the Twi'lek things on their heads are called brain tails.
Yeah, Leku. They're literally just extensions of spinal cords.
That seems like a major evolutionary liability.
I don't know, man.
Star Wars.
I couldn't tell you
Star
what
Wars.
purpose
What the hell
it
do you want?
serves, other than according to the books, they play a major role in Twi'lek body language with each other. Like,
Yeah, the fuck if I know, man. It's Star Wars biology, like.
Yeah.
and I know it's considered a pretty like bad thing if you have one that is like cut off. I know there's a character in one of the books who's a Twi'lek who had one of her Leku cut off in battle. She was not super pleased with that.
All right. Well, on that note, we are gonna end this Dark Forces episode. Good night, Internet.
Good night.
Continue with us next time as we talk about random minutia of
Star
the
Wars
universe canon.
Oh yeah.
Star Wars is good.
What else are you gonna do in a first-person shooter?
Hell yeah. Good night.
Peace out.
Night.